Yeah, essentially, like the topic that we're publishing is like science fiction, basically, how it has impacted uh, history, like science as a whole, and maybe some just some books that we like that might have some impact or relevance to society.
Yeah, I know I specifically want to talk about between like hard science fiction and soft science
Go
fiction.
ahead and introduce yourself.
Wait, oh, we're not doing the test?
It's already recording on here.
But it didn't broadcast. I thought we had to
It
restart.
is broadcasting right now.
What?
Yes, it is.
Viewers are going to be so confused.
What do you mean? The viewers are confused? There's not even one person on the thing right now.
That's sad.
It's okay.
I posted all the links, right?
Yeah, well, it's gonna post on it's on Facebook and it's gonna post onto YouTube later. And I already know like the last president of Language Creative Writing. I hope he watches it and listens to
I
it.
hope he still cares.
He's sort of. I'm not going to talk bad about.
Yeah, don't talk bad about it. I feel like he's listening.
He's like the greatest person ever. He's like the only person.
He's our old master.
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 Okay. Did you already introduce yourself?
Not yet.
Oh.
Actually, most of us haven't.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Right. Hello there. I'm Colin Lynch. I'm a veterinary science student, minor in creative writing. And because I have done real science, I'm also the science fiction expert.
Apparently.
I'm also a history major in linguistics and creative writing minor.
Currently, rice.
Currently Chinese food.
Chinese rice. Chinese food rice. With orange.
Like those.
No, okay. It's not good.
Oh, you guys say the last name? Sasha Hawkins.
Just be safe.
Famous author in the
Yes,
future,
of course.
obviously.
And I'm a creative writing major and freshman.
Dana Patterson, creative writing major, linguistics minor.
I like the fact that all of us have distinct voices. We don't sound
That is
like
handy.
each other. Yeah, it's really nice. Okay. Anyway, first, you wanted to talk about the difference between hard fiction and soft fiction,
Soft science
science
fiction.
fiction.
All right. So, first of all, like, what do you say?
English and creative
Is that-
writing.
Hello, welcome.
Introduce yourself.
I think I
We're
We're
going
on
to be
last
recorded
year.
right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
How do you get forward?
Okay. All right.
You can see.
Thank you.
Go ahead and introduce yourself for the
The
benefit of society. Because we are victims of humanity.
We talk and save lives.
oh wow. I see. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Well, like that'd be important, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean beyond that.
Well, we've been declaring. Well, it's interesting the way that we like define ourselves, like introduce ourselves to our identity, and like most of the time we just say like. Are you cheating?
You're cheating, Sasha.
You're cheating. He was like, put him on the spot. No, good. Go ahead.
All right. Hi everyone. I'm Sheila. I'm double majoring in creative writing and psychology. And I don't know, do you guys want like an interesting fact or something like that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I collect stories about people who have died unusual deaths.
The plot.
Is this planning for something?
Is that-
Just a morbid fascination.
Probably psychological stuff of some sort.
Sure.
I'm not sure how that would apply, but that would be pretty damn cool.
I feel really bad, but I hope you prefer to I like it.
Should we go around the table again for her benefit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm
Taylor.
Dana.
Sasha.
Description.
Okay. I'm Colin.
Gotcha. Yes.
Alright.
Didn't we? Okay. So
Should I-
continue talking about the difference between hard. I always thought that the difference between soft and hard fiction was science fiction was that soft is more is more than hard. Hard is more realistic and like more towards the current future, like really feasible with different scientific methods that we have.
Yeah, that's basically how I see it. I mean, movies like Star Wars and Star Trek are kind of like soft science fiction, but like Star Trek's kind of halfway in
Kind
between.
of iffy because, well, like at the time that it originated, would it be considered soft because of the technology at the time, or
The research that goes into it.
Well, it's really a matter of opinion. That's what it really comes down to. But no, like more science fiction though does tend to try to draw from real science a lot more than soft science fiction does. And soft science fiction, I feel like it's just like kind of a fantasy in the future, where you replace the mad, like the sorcerer with like the mad scientist, and you replace magic with like high level technology or force. To use Star Wars example.
Yeah, I always thought. Sorry,
Oh no, go
I always thought the difference between hard and soft science fiction was if the aliens look like humans and they speak English, that's not hard science fiction.
That's very-
Take it away.
If they have green skin. Wait, it doesn't count. Like if they're
They have
I mean,
green
it
skin, but
depends
otherwise
on-
humanoid.
I don't. The sound
Yeah.
really.
I mean like
It is. Yeah, it is. Well, it is an definition. I mean, this really is opinion based. I mean, some people do the same work. Like, what's his name? We just talked about him last week. Who wrote Dune?
Oh,
Herbert. Yes. Like, I've heard.
Dude,
Well, they did.
I don't
I thought so. Maybe that was
Oh,
somewhere else.
doesn't matter.
it was the weekend
Alright.
we were sick.
No, I've heard.
See, we don't remember. We didn't talk about it. Go ahead, talk about it.
I forget what I was talking about now.
You were talking about Dune and something about hard and science.
Oh no, I've heard. I've heard debates about whether or not like that's hard soft science.
Oh,
fiction.
there's debates on.
Yeah, like on the interwebs.
So,
I've,
like-
I've seen a forum about
So,
it.
just for like the entertainment in your personal opinion, if there was like a science fiction book about like the isolation of like Earth and another planet that has been colonized by humans, but it turns out the humans slowly turn into like a different race, would that be considered like hard?
Depends on how you go about it. Does it go about by magic,
No,
or does it go about by some sort of like a genetic?
It's like some type of
recombination?
genetic recombination deal. Would that be considered hard, or was that too far in the future to be considered realistic?
Well, you can probably go as far into the future as you want, like hard science fiction. I mean, I think it just has to be based in some sort of real science, and you can't just say they travel to Mars because they have cool spaceships.
So it's like that.
You have to be able to like describe like the photon generator that propels them to Mars or something like, or like condensing space in between the two or something like that.
so Back to the Future. Is that
Oh,
hard?
oh.
It's like a
I think that is soft. I mean, well,
They
that's
have a
hard. That's
though.
another one that I feel like is in the middle because I mean,
Yeah.
just saying that this generator takes them to the future is soft science fiction. But when they start talking about like how like different like time anomalies like affect one another, that could be considered like a general theory of like how time travel could work and like how it could affect people's lives in the future.
Well, they kind of
But-
talk about how the actual vehicle works a little bit. I mean, like they say it's like what is the flux capacity?
Yeah.
And they're like, they say that exists, but they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, so
explain
that's kind of soft science fiction.
Okay.
At least in my opinion. This is all just me. Like,
It was like I was gonna say like this is open to
So-
like. Does anyone else have like any opinions on like this specific genre? Do you have?
Not
Not really.
Science fiction isn't my major genre of reading, to be honest.
Yeah.
it actually isn't even. You can't focus your major mind on.
Yeah.
You can just. I think it only comes to classes
Not
available
here.
and everything. Well, it's actually
Werewolf. No, go ahead.
no, it's actually the case like in most universities actually. This is a really sad story in my opinion, but like it used to be like back in the day, like Jules Verne and like Wells and like some of the great classic science fiction authors. Science fiction was in the mainstream. Like everyone read it, like it was considered like to be classic as long as you have a great piece of literature at the time, and it was taught at universities. But then this woman named Virginia Woolf came around and like with her literary analysis basically said that hey, no, she didn't go outright and say that science fiction is stupid and shouldn't be taught in classrooms, but she basically said that all the strengths of novels are basically you have to like kind of like retell the same kind of story over and over again. Like so, I mean, with all the main themes like love and loss and things like that.
Right.
And like she didn't like that. She didn't like the idea of like bringing in new ideas and exploring those. And basically what she did was that she was like a key writer at the time. So like she was extremely influential. So when she said that, she kind of like single-handedly booted science fiction out of the mainstream and kind of turned it into a kind of like a subpart genre in the minds of many academics. So
I feel like
So
it's
that-
making a comeback. Like, didn't
I-
like Ursula the Win just won some big prize? Sort of.
I'm not familiar, so I can't say.
So she's old now, and I really cannot think of the title of her book, but she's written a bunch of influential, like big. I think she wrote a trilogy.
Didn't you write like Chronicles of Earth?
Yeah.
It's not that.
I don't know.
I mean, I think it's like speculative fiction.
Okay. Well, that's
I always thought that was just like the more respectable term for fiction.
I thought it was like an umbrella term for like sci-fi and fantasy. It's
Yeah.
like speculative. It's like anything that's like not strictly reality based. So
Well, like, fiction's not really.
yeah, and we're not like
otherwise it's nonfiction.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know. I mean, people like Kurt Vonnegut. He has like stuff and robots.
time travel. Yeah.
And I mean, and the funny thing is, I think he didn't like the whole science fiction, but he was respectful. So I don't think it's a really added. I'm not like a huge science fiction fan at all. Besides like stuff like that. But just saying straight out like, hey, all the stuff you're doing, if you put it in space, like then it's not literature. It seems like
Oh.
Well, it's never, it's never said like that. It was more subliminal than that. It's
Yeah.
just like Junior Wolf like took all the strengths of of like works that you read about like high school classes, college literature classes, and made those to be maybe like more important than they were. And she just said like all the strengths of science fiction, like such as exploring ideas, wasn't when it was actually a weakness. So I don't think anyone ever goes out to say that, but at the same time, they don't actually go out and promote science fiction as if it were a classic piece of literature, which well, at least that's what's happened in the past, I think. But I think you guys are right, but generally speaking, it's making a comeback.
I mean, I think that one way you could argue against Wolf's theory that you're claiming is I read this book for a was like an African women's studies class, and the author is Octavia Butler. And if you've heard, she's amazing, and she wrote this piece about this woman who lives in the 70s, and she time travels back to what time is that? I don't know, like early America, like
17, late 1700s.
yeah, and she's black, and she goes into the South, and she experiences slavery firsthand, and it's not typical science fiction in any means because it's more historical than anything. With the time travel, and they never really explain it, so I guess maybe that would be soft because you don't know why. She just shows up there. It's really weird. And
Well, that can also fall into surrealism too.
yeah, it's
So,
got
I
a
mean-
lot going on, and it's probably I really recommend it as a book to read. I can't see anything right now. I'm
I know.
looking at all the
I know.
dots.
The light is the light is like
They need like a screen in this room.
I know. I keep thinking like the sun is so close.
Here we
to
go.
me, like,
Yeah, it's
the left
almost-
thing.
you're gonna
I'm
take the
done.
board.
So help me.
Yeah.
Let's get this out of the way. Don't mind us. Continue talking.
Anyways, on the topic of time travel, I've actually been thinking about time travel, like as in the way that it's used in literature to like. I think that like creating your own reality within like a type of in like fiction or science fiction is in kind of making your own. I'm not being very clear right now. But it's basically like the choices that like being able to time travel is being able to redo choices in order to reach a desired conclusion that is alternate from your timeline, and to be able to have that world at the end. I think that is kind of like an accurate description of what a writer does. Does that sound plausible?
Writer, I would say
A
for
fiction
sure.
writer.
It's creating a world besides their own experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you always have to have, whenever you're writing fiction, you always have to have something at least slightly different to contrast the real world to.
Right.
So, I mean, like, they say that there's no such thing as flight in the void. Like, you're just like kind of like figuring out by yourself, or you're just strictly speaking about reality. You really can't say that much about it because it's moving in reference to nothing.
Oh,
But-
right.
But as soon as you put something in there's reference, or like in this case, yeah, case of fiction, it's like slightly alternate world, then you can see like the differences between them and like, how the kind of brings out truth in both. If that makes sense.
So the argument in like between soft and hard science fiction is like the amount of allowance that, or the amount of abstraction from the current realistic world that we live in. Would that be accurate?
I think
I
it's
It's like a sliding continuum. Like
Oh yeah, it's
soft
definitely a
versus hard.
continuum. It's a spectrum. It's not just this is hard and soft. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like everything's in opinion, like in between both.
I
Sorry,
think
Rocky.
it seems to me it's just like an example that you described is like the black woman takes a time machine to slave times, and the author's not really interested, I'm assuming, in discussing like time travel as a thing itself, like, oh, what are the consequences of this technology, and what if this actually was a thing? Obviously, she's more interested in like, what if there was a modern African like in this context? So it just seems to me like it's how much you actually care about the science part of it, or there's-
Like sometimes it's just a device to use something else.
yeah, it's sort of like the relationship between like magical beings and the fantasy.
Oh yeah, actually, I really like that. Like right now, I'm in a story where I'm trying to build a conscious computer, and I'm trying to put as much real science into it as I possibly can. And so I'm hoping I'm going to be classified as hard science fiction, but if I didn't care about the science at all, I was like, ooh, conscious computers going to take over the world, like Terminator. Then yeah, I guess it would turn more soft science fiction. But I do think I care. But it's hard to say. Yeah, the thing I definitely care for is that I can't say I like the science more than the story, because then it becomes more of like nonfiction, or that's just like boring to to the regular viewer. So you always have to put the story first whenever you're writing stories. But yeah, I guess it's just a grading of like how much science put into it behind it that defines the two.
I know that's why like a lot of hard science fiction doesn't appeal to like everyone.
I mean, what are your guys' opinions of like hard science fiction? Am I the only one that likes it, or what do you guys
I
think?
mean, I imagine I don't really prefer it. I just don't have.
I
I just don't dislike soft science fiction. I like all.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying I dislike it. It's just
It definitely adds to it when I can like back up plots with facts and feels believable. It's the same reason why I like supernatural horror movies, but I like psychopath serial killer horror movies because it seems plausible. Like if I can actually believe it, it affects me a lot more.
What's the movie that came out recently with Matthew McConaughey? Interstellar. Okay.
Wait, what the? Okay, go on.
I bring up films because obviously I study film too, so it's for me they're like parallel. But that it was really interesting because I went to see that with my family, and after we spent like an hour or two debating the physics behind it, just like and deciding whether it was correct or not. And that's what I love about science fiction is kind of like the debate that I get from it. On like, and you can't really always take everything to be science fact or whatever, obviously. But that's what I love about hard science fiction is because you can kind of go in and say like, oh, well, that might not actually be real science or something,
well,
or
the
soft science fiction or whatever.
well, I think one of the great hallmarks of hard science fiction though is that you do take like real scientific principles, and then you like take them to the next step.
Okay.
So it could potentially go in that direction, or then it may not. Interstellar is actually a great example of that because they actually did put a lot of science fiction, a real lot of science into that.
Yeah.
Like
Really?
they actually
pretty accurate.
published like two scientific papers based off the research they did for that movie. Because you know the black hole you see in that?
Yeah.
That is the single most realistic depiction of black hole mankind's ever created.
Oh,
So
I'm curious, do they have any research? I mean, I don't know, but the last scene where he like tries to give her the message.
Is this the movie with like they're repairing satellite and they're out in space?
That might be
No.
medium grad.
That's great.
Okay, thank goodness. Because I was like, are we talking about that one? Because I heard that the science, like a bunch of science nerds went to that and they were like, no, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's definitely a few. I also like that.
But in that last scene, when like he's like trying to communicate through the like lines of time. I don't. Is there any research on that, or is that just like?
I feel like
There's-
that's also impossible to research for sure.
Yeah.
But
There's
it could be possible.
there's definitely speculation on it. I mean, if you consider times we just like what you mentioned that theoretically that we could just have like manipulate the same way we manipulate our 2 dimensions. We just don't know how yet. But that is extremely speculative.
Right.
You know, science. I mean, I'm sure there's something written about it. Actually, I think Stephen Hawking has tackled the issue. So I think it's a definite possibility, but we are years and years away from doing anything similar to that.
So that would definitely be hard science fiction.
I think so, yes. As long as you go, as long as you try to explain it just a little bit.
Yeah.
Not just say, oh, we're going to travel. Yeah. I'm just going to touch her now. 20 years in the past.
What's cool is they do explain almost all the science in that movie. When they go in and like say, "Oh, we're gonna do this," well, we can do this because of this, this, and this.
Mhm.
I think that's a really cool aspect of that because you're learning and entertaining yourself. So it's great.
And the biggest thing that I feel it does is that it opens up your minds to possibilities. And if there are any potential scientists out there watching these films, then they're inspired to do their own research and start working on their own projects, whether they be like real scientific projects or new works of science fiction.
Right.
And that's what I like about the field. That inspires me to do more real science.
Like I think it's interesting because whenever I hear about like the stereotype of people who are like English majors, people who write in general, like writing nerds, I usually hear that they are scientifically illiterate, and like maybe like this type of like hardcore research into like the specific genre, be able to write about science and put research into it and like dedication and love to both writing and like plot device and writing, studying that as well as science in general. I think it's kind of resisting the stereotype. Maybe that'd be what
It's
like
okay, I
why
think that's stereotype 100%.
you do.
So do I.
I'm
Like,
not,
I love science, but I'm not good at it.
like, I'm
anyway.
like, just like,
same.
wow, this is amazing. I come back next day and I'm like, I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
It's like, it's bad. I'm interested. I just don't understand 90% of the time.
That's exactly how I am.
Yeah. That's the thing. Is like with hard science fiction, I've always felt like I don't know. It's like in my head, it's like it's not for you because I don't know. I always like I like surrealism. I don't know if it describes that, but I like surrealism. So I don't really need everything to be explained. I like when things are just weird for the sake of being weird.
Kind of like Lewis Carroll.
Yeah, like I just like when just stuff happens and you're just like,
We should have the next podcast on
Yeah.
surrealism. I just
That
love
would be
surrealist
great.
humor.
yeah.
Free. It's hilarious. I'm not racist. Oh, okay. So if you guys don't want to do it, it's fine. But I was like thinking like for 10 minutes we could have like this little corner because sometimes podcasts have like little corners like car crash corner where they talk about car crashes for some reason. I don't know. I just come off the top of my head because I didn't want to say plane crash corner. But
Please no.
but I was like, but if I don't know if it'd be racist, but it'd be cool if we had like a code switch corner. Should we like switch to like a different way of speaking for a little bit?
To be raised, it really depends on what you mean. Like, let's go straight up stereotype.
Like-
I'm gonna say no to that.
I'm gonna say no because I can't speak in any accent.
Can you
So
just make up a voice and just go along with it? 'Cause I'm the same way.
you could just have your own different voice every time.
Wait,
Yes.
every time we
Just
talk.
make up something new.
Can I vote against this also?
Yeah. It doesn't. It was just an idea that I had in my head. I wrote it down. I was like, maybe this could be a good idea. Nope. Like,
Please.
I think that'd be voices.
You can have a thing where everybody does something like you can only talk in rhyming couplets for 10 minutes or like something.
Oh,
some other term
Oh
like
my
that.
god.
Am I the only poet here?
I'm a non-rhyming.
Oh, no.
I
I'm
wrote.
free. I'm
Oh no, just kidding.
I feel it's like 5.
We should make something easy to do. So
But like a topic, like a recurring thing, because I like those things. Like just to have something stable.
We
So
could
kind
talk
of a
about-
signature for the club.
I guess it'd be
what if we all went around and said like our favorite book we read last or something like that? Or
like towards the end, like things that we're reading.
yeah, like what we're currently reading, what we think about it if we want to.
That sounds good. 'Cause I think I tried to institute that in like the first, but the first one we just ended up talking about books that we like.
Yeah.
We always end up talking about books that we like anyway.
writers who should like books. We don't like books. We're in the wrong field.
So good.
Yeah. Everything out there is bullshit except what I read.
Only read what Colin thinks.
Like the thing with like 90% of everything is crap. Like, were you thinking of that, or is it?
No, it was
Oh,
like
yeah,
this
never
show.
mind.
It was like Garth Marenghi, and he's supposed to have written all these books, and they're really popular. And it's like an interview with him, and he's like, it's like a parody, but he's like, I'm the only author that has written more books than I've read. And I was like,
Oh no!
It was like a trillion, like 6 books, and he's like, I've read more books than I've read. It's like,
Wow.
yeah, and then it was like the show was like like they made his books into a miniseries, and it's bad. It's a good show. Though. It's funny. It was really funny. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, I think. Yeah, I saw it on Adult Swim, which is where I see like, everything that my youth writings. Yeah.
By the way, I feel like I need to ask this every time, but I'm in the army and I swear a lot. Does that bother any?
Oh my gosh! That first freaking podcast, you were like, "Can I say
But there, we have a new
words
audience.
that are bad?"
We have a new audience now. For all I know, they could be informant.
I don't know. Well, we sort of had a conversation. I think that like we try to have a conversation. Well, we did have a conversation on censorship and like the different modes of communication and how appropriate they are to situation. Does that make sense? Okay?
Yeah.
Well,
I think we should say kind of
Fuck yeah.
it's like it changes the dynamic. I don't know. Like
I think it makes it more energetic myself. It makes us a little more animated.
I
It's
don't even notice when I slip out with words like that.
Yeah.
So like,
Well-
like an attitude. It's like the amount of energy level. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know I also have like I also have like personal stigma about not using swear words because as authors, I feel like we should use as many words as we fucking want to.
I like it
If we're-
whenever it's used creatively, whenever it's used as an out to just be a curse word. Like you need to have a reason for it. Or else I don't
can't-
like if you're not being creative, I hate you.
that's like
It's
any
like-
word.
So I can't just say
though.
effing,
Yeah.
effing.
Like if it has different amounts of tone and emotional impact on the writing.
Yeah, it's like,
Like-
was it Django Unchained? Everyone was getting on Quentin Tarantino because he said like, I don't know, what was it like? They said nigger like 30 times, and they were like, hey now. And I'm like, this is a movie about slavery in the South. Are you kidding me? They're like, no,
It's
never really,
appropriate.
never ever. And I'm like, and Spike Lee's like, oh, protest the movie. I'm like, no, Spike Lee.
Every time a movie or book like that comes out that they're talking about slavery and they have the N word there a million times, everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And it's
Yeah.
what it
What do
really
you expect?
like.
It
that's
makes sense that it would be.
Yeah, it's like, but the thing is, on the other side, it's like, I don't know. It's like a lot of the times, like, if it's for characters, but like another Quentin Tarantino example, he normally uses it like if the character's garbage, like you just aren't supposed to like him, like
Oh.
Steve Buscemi in Reservoir Dogs. He's just dropping it all the time. He's just
Yeah.
saying really bad stuff. He doesn't tip the waitress. He's just like, this is how you know you're not supposed to like this one.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
which
a
I get.
simplistic
It's
way
like,
of writing.
yeah, it's like I like it. I'm okay with cursing. I'm but I'm getting too comfortable because now I'm accidentally saying it in front of my mom.
Oh, you shouldn't hang around me too much.
No, it's bad.
I actually don't think that you curse that much, Lynch.
No, I think I could. But I've heard myself curse like,
I think it's just because of the way I talk to you. Just to encourage you not to.
To speak in a higher diction with more syntax and
Obvi-
semantics. Those are I just high level
trend
words.
here. No, it's fine. I don't know. Like, no, whenever I feel like really loose, I curse a lot. But like for some reason, I feel like I need to talk at a high pitch. It's just
When
like,
I've been at school, then I don't.
Yeah, I've probably
don't
never
curse as
cursed
much.
in a classroom.
I for sure, but like answering like questions sometimes. But I don't know. It's usually generally like when you're in an academic setting, just the diction is a higher level. So naturally you stray away less from word. I would say that a lot of curse words, although they can express real true things, they're a lot of times used as just exclamations, and that doesn't happen a lot in academic speech, I would say.
like I would curse in an essay, but I'm right. Because then it just like, because you're expected to speak a certain way, and then it just like everybody's like, oh, this person's dumb. Like they just read one curse word and like,
Nope.
it could be a quote from the book, and they're just like,
That's why you quote all the curse words in the book that you're writing about.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
on page 37.
Yeah,
Wow.
make sure it's always in quotations. So,
So, Hamlet,
no, Shakespeare was bad.
another thing that was thought of because I can't remember what I was looking at, but I really into Blue Velvet, and the character Frank says like drops the F bomb like not even every other word. It's just sometimes him continuously saying it. He's also meant to seem really like crazy, which it does well. But I think it can do a lot for characterization depending on how they use like curse words and stuff. Like if they never use them, it's like Flanders, Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. If he's putting words in like to replace curse words, it's like you're meant to sit there like, oh, he's kind of weird. Yeah, like you're a little weird, aren't you?
It says more about the person that it's like they want to express that,
Yeah.
but for some reason there's something blocking their ability. Like there's something that they think they can't, so they have to replace it with something else.
And I think that's like healthy. I think at least
It's only healthy if you
sometimes.
can tell that they're like that all the time.
Like if they're tormented by that idea or like being stopped by like being able to express themselves, actually that could be in itself a literary device in order to just be a tone for that character, like symbolic that they are trapped behind a veil like themselves in order to not be able to fulfill what they want. And they could be like sometimes so think about that.
Yeah, is it anything that you can bring to a character's dialogue that adds more levels to like their own, just who they are? It makes it more interesting, and just subtle things like that, like replacing a curse word with I don't even know. Yeah, that adds a certain dimension to a character without even saying that. You don't have to say, oh, they're trying to hide something. They just are. You know that, or maybe not hide something, but they're trying to cover up something about something real.
So, or they could just be. Yeah, it would be. It would have add that amount of depth no matter what context I think it would be. Yeah.
It's cool when like, little things like that just changing like one word. You can add so much more.
Oh yeah, I definitely know like complex kind of writing is like writing the like making like each character's dialogue different. So you're just reading the words, but you don't know it's like said, but it doesn't say like said so and so.
That's always
You can
been
tell
so
the difference.
impressive to me
I'm like,
when authors are good at that. Yeah.
yeah,
When there's like a bunch of people in a single conversation, you can still distinguish it easily.
yeah. I haven't mastered it yet. I'm working on it, but it's like I'm like whenever I'm writing, I want everyone to write in my voice or speak in my voice.
Exactly.
So who's a good example of that? It doesn't even have. I would.
George Martin.
Okay. I would. I don't know if I agree with this, but I think J.K. Rowling.
I was about to say,
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like
She
that's
does an
another
excellent
Harry
job.
Potter.
Her character is memorable as anyone saying. It's literally history, in my opinion.
We should have we have like a checklist that I'm trying to mention Harry Potter on this show. We mentioned it like at every meeting so far, I think.
Come on,
Yeah, like,
it's our
It should be
generation's,
mentioned
like-
every meeting. It's the reason I started writing.
Wow.
My parents came out and then like I got to sneak it, so I went to the library. And it's never vacant.
Still on hold.
Okay, so we as a club we talk about books. We also write, and we want to foster like a community of just writers that support each other. Like you read my stuff, your stuff. I like, for example, like I think that Colin Mitchell's stuff is like really good. The plot is like really, really good, and apparently like some of my stuff is kind of, I don't know. What do you think about my stuff again?
It's very expressive. You have a way of saying something through tone without actually going out and saying it. That really is kind of like cuts to the core of whatever thing you're trying to discuss.
Okay.
That makes
Cool.
sense.
Yeah. That's worded well, much past the way that I would said it at all. but yeah, we have like this sort of
We have a way to to share?
Yes, I
online?
was going to get. Yeah, we have this. We have a group on Figment, which is a way that you can post your stuff for see, like basically publishing. Um, and you can join our group and read your stuff and like throw commenting about it. Sasha still needs to post something.
I just
Yeah.
made my Trello card.
I'm
Yeah.
proud of
Get
you.
one thing for 3 weeks.
But yeah, if you're not comfortable with the sharing stuff public, you can always just contact us through like Facebook or something. See if you want to read it too.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes we do that. So,
We also edit our work as well. So if like anyone needs to send for class or like on campus, I'm getting ready to submit this to like a magazine or something that you have to post something and say, hey, I really need to have this edited. Can you help me out, guys? And hopefully someone or
Someone
two
will
people
pick
will
it
step up.
That reminds me, like you have to make sure you read the submission guidelines for stuff like that really clear because sometimes they count things like Figment as like publication.
you can
Yeah,
also
like
you can
you need to like really because if you publish it on there and you submit to them and they find out it's on Figment, they're like, how dare you?
there's a thing on Figment on every single writing thing where it's basically it says destroy, so you can like destroy everything that you want to do. I think.
Okay.
I know some magazines have a policy where you are allowed to submit things that have appeared on like your own personal like social media site, like your own blog or like your Tumblr or something like that. But if you do get published by that magazine, then they ask you to take it down from that website. But like that's only after you get published by them.
Well, they say most of the masters were simultaneous. Like if you're simultaneously submitting to places, you have to tell them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of basically what that would be.
So
Should that be a segment?
So
Talk about
actually-
publishing?
yay! We were gonna talk about conception of publishing today. What were you gonna say?
Sorry, I had another topic. I'll go on.
What's the topic? Very interesting.
Oh,
We
Like,
said
you know,
segues,
like,
and
that's
then we're
actually-
like, we have to segue. You talk.
Well, I don't know. Did we want to talk about? Okay.
No, I want to get interested.
Yeah.
Well-
See. What?
well, I want to hear what you guys think about self-publishing.
Ah.
Because like more and more, that seems to be like a viable option for people. Like you can publish like on Amazon for free now. And, like there's like a whole clusters, like communities of people that will just read stories that are published on self-publishing through Amazon. And there's like a bunch of like fan fiction swing all over the internet, which are getting all the attention and actually making money.
And some match fiction is really bad, but it's really fun.
But there's some really good stuff there too. Is
I think
the
that
thing.
90% crap could fit into the fan fiction. There's like
Yeah.
10% of fan fiction is amazing. The rest is
But point I want to bring up is like, do you guys feel like it's better to go through like traditional route of publishing, or do you want to like try to find one of these new ways of publishing? Like, so like just like self-publishing on Amazon, and like advertising it through Facebook or through Tumblr, or like any other social media website you can find, like YouTube videos even.
There was on this, so that's a more interesting thing to say. Like there was a actually Intelligence Squared debate, which is another podcast that I listen to. That was talking about Amazon being a friend to the reader, and like whether or not the amount of power that Amazon is giving to self-publishing is good for consumers, like for readers as a whole, as opposed to having the traditional route. And like there are like a couple of things that they were mainly talking about Amazon and their publishing things, because sometimes like there was this one time where they just dropped the prices of all the books down to like $3, right? And that like killed the publishing, like the three big publishing houses, which is essentially supposed to be an oligarchy. And then they argue whether or not that is a good thing for writers in general, and whether or not it would detract from the fact that your stuff gets edited by editors in the traditional way.
I actually, sorry, I have to leave in like 2 minutes. So can I just say something like really fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually have self-published a novella on like CreateSpace, which is affiliated with Amazon, and the reason why I decided to do it was because I actually have like huge anxiety about the prospect of being published by like a regular like, mainstream publishing house, of like having to submit your manuscript to a lot of different places, and like having to be rejected and having to wait, and it's like having a whole like slush pile, like thinking about that image. It was just like really like anxiety And so I was like, I just went with this route because it's like, it's something that didn't really matter huge. I mean, it did matter to me a lot, but it didn't matter hugely to me to have like a giant audience, to have like everybody buying my book, to become like a famous writer or anything like that. I just had written something that I was proud of, and I wanted to just like have something to sort of physically hold in my hands, like show to my friends and be like, hey guys, I did this thing and I'm proud of it, but I don't want this to be like a giant thing. It's okay to have this be sort of like smaller, more informal thing, and that way I can get more control over it. And so that's like personally why I did it, but then like I also knew that there was sort of this like negative stereotype around self-publishing, which is that like if you do it, you're a bad writer, and like it's all like crap because like everyone who self-publishes is someone who like can't get published for real, and so which is why I like don't mention it that much because I feel like people are like, oh, that means like I'm not a good writer or something like that. I mean, it was just like something that I did like for myself, something to just like share with the people around me, and like I think one day I would like to get published by like the mainstream press, but I think that was just like practice for me like with the whole process of it. So
yeah, I feel like ultimately like everyone's ideal is getting published by some big thing that will be prestigious and get their book dispersed widely. But also the negative connotation, I can't imagine it will do anything but get less and less extreme with self-publishing. It's only going to get more common.
Well, you really, it's nowadays. I feel like you have to get your name out there before you can consider getting published by a big place. Like they have to read you somewhere else. Like, I mean, I've submitted to a bunch of literary magazines, and I actually have one that's published in a poem, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you. But I mean, like that's like the very first start of it, and I'm hoping, you know, with this, it'll allow me to, it'll nice meeting you. It'll allow me to like show other people that I'm published somewhere else, so you know maybe you could like consider my stuff more. I think that's really helpful.
Well, I know like a technique I'm definitely trying to employ is that I want to force the hand of big publishing companies, like the story that I'm working on now. Like I'm trying to like to like a huge social media project because like I want to write this like I'm going to Africa. Like that's right, the first part of it takes place in Africa, and obviously I can't write a story. No, at least I don't think you can really write a story well about Africa or notification about actually going there and experiencing it.
Right.
So I'm sort of like GoFundMe on that. So I'm trying to get like a lot of people to donate through that, and like involved advertising book that I'm using this term to fund. Working on a YouTube video right now. To help advertise the story for the and for the trip. So I just want to make this a huge movement before it even gets published. Try to get like a lot of followers to become invested in the story, so when it does get published, it gets there's movement behind it. And then like a publisher will see that as like, hey, this guy has like a guaranteed audience of like buying book. Therefore, I'm going to publish this guy. It's not necessarily they don't necessarily choose the best fiction a lot of times. It's the fiction they think will sell the best.
Yeah, whoever has more. Like, that's why big writers. That's why getting your name out there is really good because then you have a basis, and they're like, oh, well, somebody will buy this. At least 100 people buy this. Okay, that's it's better to like broadcast yourself as a writer, if anything, than to actually get published. And that's why self-publication seems to be beneficial. Because,
at least you start.
Yeah, exactly.
My problem's always been like when they're you'll have like authors from like say like the 50s, like Raymond Carver has like just books on books of short stories that he has like published in like the New Yorker and stuff, and that was to like do what like you're saying, like get his name out there, get like following and stuff, and like John Updike did the same thing. But like the problem, I feel like with self-publication, you're skipping a lot of important steps into bettering yourself. Like sometimes you need to be told like, hey, maybe work on this a little bit, because I feel like a literary journal is less interested in selling things more than they're like, I want good, because if I don't publish good stories, then my reputation is going to go down the garbage and will be shut down. So it's like it's a good place to start, because like a lot of times like I think self-publication is a good thing like as a starting place, but I don't think you should just end there. Like you should just like throw up a whole novel and then be like, I'm done. This is it. This is is my life's work. So yeah.
Yeah, but I can say ongoing.
I think that's a good point. I remember I had a book fair going on last March, and a lot of it's like self-publishing, and a lot of that is like super depressing. Like, one book, this guy was, with cover photo, it was like taking a digital camera, and it was blown up so you could like see the pixels, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to read this book. On the other hand, maybe it's not very respectable, but I don't think that his first job should be respected. I would be fine with that. That's what it takes to get the read language.
Yeah, I think it's a great first step too.
There's been like one author, I can't remember which one it is, but like they've self-published before, like the people that we like look up to and stuff. A lot of them have like self-published something that they couldn't really get to sell. Because again, like if you're trying to publish a book, it's about what I can get people to buy rather than what's gonna actually, leave a lasting impact on like literature.
Like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, like that. Someone published that.
that
Someone's like, I'm gonna sell this.
She started off as fan fiction.
Yeah.
Started off as
Or
fan fiction.
slash-
Fan fiction.
I think it
what?
was supposed to be like a
Twilight.
Twilight fan fiction.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
I'm like, oh my
And
gosh.
she took that to a publishing house, and they were like, I can make money. They don't care how good.
So had like a huge following.
Yeah,
online, like,
that was
So
the
they
problem.
turned it from Twilight fan fiction to like sadomasochism.
She
it was
changed the
already
names.
sadomasochist,
Yeah.
and presumably.
Well, I
They
guess
changed
that's
their
kind of
names.
what Twilight
Yeah.
almost is.
They just
basically.
did like change it.
Twilight is like the
Change the
teenage version of sadomasochism.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't like Twilight very much.
I don't either. I read it, and then I was just like, I'm not feeling it, because everyone in my class was like, Twilight is my shit, and I was like reading it. It's boring. Nothing happens.
As a writer and a reader, it's just not
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah, as a
Yeah.
writer, I'm like, I'm offended by this. As a woman, I'm offended by this. But dang it, I've read all of them. Yeah.
I got to the second one. I was like, I'm done. I'm so
I couldn't even finish 2 chapters.
Yeah,
I opened up the book and I was like, why are these chapters empty? It's like, oh, it's because it's symbolic. No.
Lazy writing.
They're empty.
I can't let myself hate on something until I've tried it at least once.
Yeah, I actually haven't. I didn't actually read into it, but it might be another instance of like potato chip versus like my dining again.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, like I find that sometimes.
And I mean, like, that's all it's trying to be. So I don't really.
Yeah, she's not like, I'm the next Robert Frost. She's like, I wrote a book and I made money. What did you do? She doesn't care.
She's already way ahead of me. So
Yeah, I'm like,
all right.
I know self-published first book and sold like 20 copies.
Wow.
I
can still
agree.
make it and be not.
yeah. Sometimes people are just like, I'm not feeling it. It's so hard.
So
Especially as hard.
Yeah.
so this is the part where we just talked about what stuff we've been enjoying.
This
week.
is our book corner.
Yeah, the club crash book corner.
What?
Club cast.
Are
It's
you
the
still
English
reading
club
Uncle
cast.
Tom's Cabin?
Yes, I've still been reading Uncle Tom's Cabin, and I read one chapter yesterday, 2 days ago, and my impression of it is like I've actually been noticing ever since you've mentioned like, oh, it's not, you've been like the slavery, right? It's like that's the bad part, right? I'm like, and I mentioned it's like, oh, it's actually a really chippy book, and it is still chippy. It's just chippy on. It's interesting. You see the amount of religion has been impacted the white people in the book and the people who are black. And then for the people who are black who have religion, it's really chippy and really happy and like, oh my gosh, they're so inspiring because they're virtuous Christians. And then there are people who are like on the fence about slavery and they're like, oh, it's probably wrong. And then there are the people who are like, I'm justified in my religious intolerance towards the black people and making them slaves. And I'm like, say I've been noticing that a bit more as I've been reading since you kind of pointed it out. And it's kind of been opening up my mind. But I still like reading the parts where it's like conflict. I'm a good Christian guy and life is great and you should be inspired by me because I'm married to you.
It's okay, someday I'm sure I'll see it slavery.
Huh?
It's masculine heresy. There's a word for that.
I feel like
There's
there
a
is.
Tom.
I feel like it's like, yeah, it's like Marty something. I swear.
Magnificent
Yeah,
Marty.
it's just like
Magnificent
Marty, so it's like the
Marty.
same thing, just Marty.
But I think it's
I
interesting
swear.
the way that she uses him as a way to just prove the point, I guess. And it's inspiring to me. I don't know.
Tom is like what not to be.
What?
Yeah, like they're
Really?
like, if I'm called Uncle Tom, someone's like really giving it to me. They're like, you're shit.
Oh no!
Race traitor. I'm like, ah.
But Uncle Tom's the black guy who
Yeah.
like leads the sermons, and he's like teaching the little girl who's like part of like the slave owners, whatever. Is like he's teaching her sermons, and he's like praying to God openly on his own time, and it's like I think that he's portrayed as a nice guy. I've been enjoying.
That's what counts.
What do you think, Caleb?
Gosh, it's kind of hard with classes, but yeah, I mean, we did. I haven't finished reading it, but I'm supposed to by today. But this book called "Written on the Body" by Jeanette Winterson, I think.
It's about tattoos.
No, it's actually about like love affairs, and the narrator is never specified gender-wise, so it's really interesting. And they have both relationships with men and women, and it goes through all these like. Especially married women, which is really interesting. And so it kind of talks about what's real love and passion versus what's kind of like stable and easy to like fall into, I guess, as far as love.
Huh.
And I mean, it's for a gender women studies class, so we're talking more about like the theory of. I want to talk more about the literature because it's like but the book that I wanted to talk about. David Foster Wallace. I don't know if anyone reads him. Yeah, he's amazing. I've read his book of essays, Flesh But Not.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah, he's
Super salty about it.
Yeah,
I like that movie.
He's like embarrassed like for people.
Yeah.
If you can read the first essay in that book, I think it's the one I think it's called Flesh But Not or something like that. It's about what's the famous tennis player? Federer.
Okay.
I really don't like tennis, and I've never liked it. My mom played it, I just never. And the way he writes about tennis in this essay just made me like fall.
He was a tennis player himself.
Yeah, he is, and the way he wrote the action, oh my god, it just melted my heart, and I was just like, it was so good. So I definitely recommend reading that. It's so good.
Have
You
you
read
read
Infinite
Infinite
Jest?
Jest?
What?
Yeah. Have you read Infinite Jest?
Infinite Jest?
Infinite Jest.
No, but that's on my list.
It's all about tennis. It's just a bunch of teenagers playing
There's
tennis.
crazy long part that's just like meticulous rules of an invented tennis game, like historical invented tennis game that like mirrors World War II. It's so bizarre.
What?
That sounds
Something
really
like
cool. It's on my list of things to read. So is like a million other books, but you know, it's on there.
Is his like journalism stuff in that book too, or is it just essays?
Yeah, there's it's a really interesting book. You should read it if you like nonfiction. It's kind of journalism, but it's mostly nonfiction, I would say. There's one essay that literally he does like or he says the 5 most important American novels to read or something, and he goes through them, and then one of them, I just read this novel too. Dang it. Well, one of them, what?
Who's it by?
I don't remember either. My memory is horrible.
Steinbeck.
Is
Okay.
it Moby Dick?
No.
Moby
I mean,
Dick is great.
it's not the novels. It's not the novels you would expect. He writes. It's different, and he doesn't write very much about it. It's like a paragraph for each, and then he comes to this one, and he just says, "Just read it," and then that's it. And it was like,
Oh, what was it? I really want to know.
I mean,
Is it
I'll bring
famous?
I'll bring in my copy of the book, and I'll show you guys because
do.
it's really.
And
it's a
then
really
we'll
cool
read out the title because it's been audio.
Honestly, this is the first David Foster Wallace book that I actually bought because I mean I just got introduced to him in the last year, which is silly. I think this is amazing. And I just went to Antigone and I found a David Foster Wallace book. Yeah, try it out. It's amazing. So yeah.
Doesn't have the goes on cruise ship.
I didn't read every single article, so maybe.
But that's a really good.
Okay. Okay. Do you know what it's called? Okay. It was funny.
No, it's a supposedly fun thing I'll never do again, which I think is that probably another book he has.
Yeah.
So it's
I need
probably,
It's not in
probably
it,
that
no.
one. But you can find out.
I will forget this if I don't put it down.
Should read my favorite short story for this good old town.
I've heard that one.
And also Incarnations of Burned Children. It's really not like his other stuff, where it's really short.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I gotta
Once
get
use your card again.
Yeah. So
You're
Lynch,
definitely
go ahead and talk about what's been reading. Unless maybe we
Oh,
should
I've
just
been
wrap it up.
reading. Oh, I've just been reading like a textbook like about microbiology,
Right?
physics,
Yeah.
and oh, the last book I read. Yeah. So the last like non-textbook I read, say through
We
which
should
was
make
already
this like
discussed.
15 minutes instead of 10 minutes before the end. Helpful.
Yeah. So, sorry. Oh, cool.
Well, I guess we should wrap up then.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, does anyone have any closing remarks?
I'm sorry that we couldn't get to everyone. I should have cut you guys off earlier.
Move naturally.
What was the David?
a supposedly fun thing.
Is it part of the title?
I love
think?
all his titles. He has amazing titles.
Although it's kind of known, I've heard that Infinite Justice from Hamlet,
Isn't that
Oh, really?
where it quotes it?
probably.
I think it
But
is.
I mean, I'd have just heard of that book and respected it because my brother loved it before I knew anything about it. And I feel like he's so crazy creative, and using Shakespeare as a title is like so dumb. Like everyone does that.
He stole it. Or he committed a cliche.
Yeah, he does do that. He actually uses a ton of cliches. For some titles.
I don't think
So he uses cliches in a non-cliche manner.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I can do.
Well, that's how you use cliches.
Yeah.
You have to change something about the cliche to actually have it, you know,
Or you're
not be a cliche.
or you're just a bad author.
Yeah, I mean, no,
Yeah,
I
that's the
mean,
difference.
that's the thing is,
I'm sorry.
that's why I don't like reading Twilight, because it's just like cliche after
Yeah.
cliche after cliche.
And she's like not aware of that at all.
yeah,
Like,
no,
like if you're doing it in a self-aware way, and she's just like she's so sincere about it, and you're like, why?
All right.
All right.
All right.
So that was the what was the fourth?
I'm sorry.
I think it was the fourth meeting. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
the fourth
fourth
meeting of the English and Creative Writing Club.
Yep.
That was fun.
We're
Good
slowly
time.
growing.
Yeah, growing slowly.
Yeah, bring your friends, guys, please.
Yeah.
Do you have any friends?
unfortunately,
I'm
none
a
of my
writing
friends
major. Do you
write.
think I have a lot of friends?
That's why we
Before
write.
I
So
went
we talk
outside,
to
yeah.
our imaginary friends.
We were all the people that was inside at